Thank you so much. All right, so we have our paper in front of us. You have either 2 pieces of colored paper, 2 pieces of plain paper. As long as you have 2 pieces of paper, you're going to need a pencil, an eraser, some scissors, glue to stick it all together, and paint. So with the paint, you can either have a bunch of paints, or the bare minimum is you need a dark color and a lighter color. I'm going to use yellow as my light color and red as my dark color. So before we start, what I need you to do is start with your background. Now, I'm going to change it up a little bit today because one of us have done this activity before. So instead of it being a night scene, let's make it a pattern or a background scene. So I want you to think about some pattern or shapes that you like, and we're going to fill this whole back paper with a bunch of shapes. So what you want to do is pick your lighter or your darker color. So I'm going to pick my red. I'm going to put it onto a painting palette because we don't usually put it on straight away. What you can do is I use just a bit of plastic as my painting palette. You could use a plate from your parents if they're all right with you using that, and then you just wash it later. A lid of a Tupperware container works great. As you can see, I am a true artist and I do not clean my palette, which I would not suggest you do. Definitely clean your palette because this takes forever to get off. So you're going to use the background. Now, the theme of this activity is pop art. And if anyone knows about pop art, if you've seen Andy Warhol's work or Roy Lichtenstein's work, there's lots of patterns, there's lots of shapes, there's lots of pretty much drama and advertising, lots of kapow and boom and wow. So what I want you to do with your colors, we're going to make a pattern on the back. Now, because we need to fit this in an hour, we're going to water down our paint a little bit. So what I'm going to get you to do, you've got your paint here, you get a little bit of water and you mix it in with your paint so that it's watered down. If you're using watercolor, amazing, it'll dry quickly, but acrylic takes a little bit longer. So we're going to wet it a little bit so that we have it a little bit runny. So if you can see, it's quite runny. It's not too thick. This is super thick. I'm not going to use that. I need to water it down and make it quite runny. This does mean that it will look a little see-through, but we just go over it a couple of times. Now, there are some fun patterns you can do. We can do stripes. We can do dots. We can do love hearts. We can do all sorts of things. If you're going to do dots, I want you to do dots in different sizes. So I'll do dots today. I'm going to start off with a flat brush because it makes it a little easier. If you've got a round one, that works well, but flat ones just seem to work easier. I'm going to shove our paintbrush right here and twirl it around to make a dot. We're going to fill the whole page. Now, you'll see when I do my dots, I'm not going to keep them the same size and I'm not going to keep them in order because we like to have it a little bit asymmetrical. So I want you to do a nice big dot, big circle, like so. So see how we've got one in the corner, one in the middle, and keep randomly decorating this whole thing. So we're going to make it maybe a little one over here. Also, they do not have to be perfect dots. Art is all about having different strange patterns, and we want to have them varying in size, varying in shape, varying in neatness. So we've got all sorts of random little dots. If you don't have paint, you're more than welcome to do this with pencil, crayon, any other materials you have. They all work the same. The activity is just about patterns. So we're going to do a big one up here. And I'm going to do another one down here. I'm going to fill my page. Let's fill them. Maybe some of my dots need to touch other dots. Maybe we need to have them all connecting sometimes. Oh, Maurice, for some reason I can't unmute you. Could you unmute, lovely? What was your question?
Can I use different colors?
Of course you can use acrylic. I'm using acrylic. I've just watered it down a little bit to add some water. So make sure you cover your whole area with dots. Is that enough for me? No, that's not enough. I'm going to do more. I like having lots and lots. If you want to make some even smaller ones, grab a smaller brush and make some smaller dots. Now with the smaller brush, you don't have to draw them. You could just do a little dab, 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 little dots to add to your background. Cover your whole thing. Maybe we could think this is maybe like a galaxy or something. We're going to put some fruit and pumpkins in the galaxy. Dots, dots, dots. So we've got our dotty background. Now, this is a little bit wet. If you can see mine, mine's quite wet. Once you finish your background, you've got all your dots and you're happy with it. Or if you don't have dots, if you've got other shapes and you're happy with it as well, what I want you to do is just put it off to the side for a bit. Oh no, I added too much water. So we're going to put this off to the side and let it dry. I'm going to hope my cat does not step on it. If you have animals, make sure you watch it while you're doing this activity because they like to step on paint. Once you've finished all of your dots, all of your background, you've got that nice, gorgeous details going on for your decorations. Oh yes, it's got lots of big and small. Yes, oh, I like that. You've got your dots touching. That's very good, Addie. They look really awesome. They look like an underwater scene because of the color. I like it. Oh, we've got a big paintbrush there, Marissa. Your dots must be massive. Nice and big. Make sure we're covering the page. They do not have to fill the whole page. Once you are happy with however many you have, that is yours. This is where we come with our artistic decision, our artistic called resolution, where we decide when to stop or do we decide to keep going. It's the question we have to do as an artist. Everyone's got their fun dots going on. If you want to, you could add some other colors, but it's up to you. Really, this is quite a free activity. Most of the time, you can do anything. If you want to go in a different direction, add some stripes, add some lines, add some crosses, all sorts of stuff. All right, let's put this to the side to dry. We want to make sure it's nice and dry when we come back to it. Now you're going to pick your other color paper. So I'm going to pick blue because, yeah, I don't know. I don't have any decision. I just want to pick blue. We don't have to have a reason. We could just like something. Now you can have a white piece of paper that works just as fine, but we're going to draw on it and then we're going to paint it. So it doesn't really matter what color it is. Just another piece of paper. So you need two pieces of paper. Oh, Marissa, I'm loving those. They're looking good. Awesome. We're going good. Very good. I like the amount of paintbrushes you have, Cecilia. You are very prepared and I'm very proud of that. It's a good amount of paintbrushes. All right, lovelies. Are we ready to do our drawing of our fruits? Thumbs up if you are. If you need a little time, I'll give you a little bit more time. No, we need a little bit more time. All good. A little bit more time for some people. While we're waiting for that to happen, for the people to finish their dots, while you're here just waiting a second, if you have a spare piece of paper.
Excuse me. Yeah. I forgot to change my name, but Cecilia is my mum.
Oh, sorry. What's your name, lovely?
Zyra.
Zyra. I like your paintbrushes, Zyra. You're very prepared.
Thank you.
All good. All right. If you have a piece of paper, just while we're waiting for some of us to catch up, I would say we practice doing some shapes that are quite rounded. So our fruit is going to be quite round. Now, if you want to practice, think about drawing a little line because we want to make it look like it's going to sit on something. So this is just for practice. This is not the activity yet. So if we're drawing a shape, see if I draw a round shape like this, it doesn't look like, oh, you can't even see it. It doesn't look like it's sitting, does it? It doesn't look realistic. So that's the table and it's floating on top of it. What you would need to do instead is you draw your flat for your table and you pretend like you've got a ball that's squished. So we've kind of got a ball and we've squished it so that it looks like if you drop something, so anyone played with those like squishy slimes things, but if you drop them, they kind of squish down and they have weight at the bottom. So when you do your drawing, it'll have weight at the bottom. What did you do to your paintbrush, Marisha? Oh, silly girl. So when we do these next activities, when we're doing our fruit or we're doing our drawing, make sure that you give them weight so that they sit and look realistic. Whereas if we had a pear that was sitting like this, oh, I can't not draw it the right way. All right, if we had a potato sitting like that on a table, it doesn't look too realistic because it's not squished at the bottom. It doesn't have that weight, that gravity that we all know exists. All right, lovelies, are we up to doing our drawing of our fruits? Yes, yes, yes. I'm sorry, love, we're gonna have to let it dry. I think you've got enough dots. All right, moving on to your drawing section. We're going to draw one pumpkin and one pear, nice and big. Then I want you to leave a little bit of room. We're gonna do 3 little ones, little tiny ones. So I'll show you. I've got mine set up. Map out where you're going to put the table so that it helps you a little bit. We're going to draw a pumpkin that's quite fat. So I've got my pumpkin sitting all squished. And my table just to show where it's sitting. So that's my first shape. Nice big pumpkin. Then the next one we're going to do, let's try drawing. What's another fruit we could do? You said oranges, but it's quite round. Let's think of something a bit different. Let's try, I'm going to look up quickly, fruit. What about, let's do does someone want to try and do a kiwi fruit? Let's do a kiwi fruit. Still round, but it's got that on the inside. Or we could do a watermelon. Let's do a watermelon. All right, lovelies. So the next one is a watermelon. A watermelon is a long shape like this. And then you bring it down a semicircle like this. So we've got a watermelon and a pumpkin. I know the pumpkin doesn't look very pumpkin-y yet. We'll get there. But this is our watermelon to start off with. Now, to make it look more watermelon-y, it's obviously missing the seeds. Oh, that looks very good. Good job. So we're going to do our watermelon like it's sectioned off. So we need to draw little map out lines like we've cut our watermelon to make it look like it's got those lines in it. I know at the moment what I'm drawing, it's going to look, we're going to paint over it, so don't worry too much about the texture that you've done. So you're going to add those sorts of things so that we know where to put our seeds. We're going to paint over that anyway. So you're drawing a line from the center, out, center, out, and out. They don't have to be even. We're just trying to have an idea of where we're going to put our watermelon seeds. So then our watermelon seeds will sit on these sections here. Because we're painting over this, it's all good, but your watermelon seed is a little teardrop, like so. And we're going to do a teardrop, 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 all the way around those lines. See how my teardrop sits on my line? All the way around. And the point of the teardrop should be pointing into the center of where a watermelon would be cut. I know mine's not perfect, but it's all good. We're going over it with paint. So you've got your watermelon teardrops going on. It's very shiny, this paper, isn't it? Sorry about that. Then that watermelon needs that little rind bit along the edge, doesn't it? So I find it easier when I'm drawing, I draw away from myself. So I keep the watermelon here and I'm drawing this angle here. Very good, good job. So you're drawing this back bit to add that rind. Try and keep it nice and even all the way around the edge. If it's not even, it's all good. Don't forget, we're painting over it and we will not see it. So we've got our watermelon set up. See how it doesn't have the color of a watermelon, but we still quite know, yeah, that looks like a watermelon. I might turn this a little bit so you can see it a bit better. Move my paints out of the way. I've got a messy setup. I hope everyone else has a nice clean setup because unlike me, mine's very messy. So you've got your watermelon here. Yours is clean. All right, back to your pumpkin. We're going to do the tip of our pumpkin. It has like a little hat almost. So we start by drawing. Whoa, we start by drawing a little upside down U, just up the top there. Then we curve it down onto the top of our pumpkin. Has to go over the edge because the top of the pumpkin has like a little lip on it. Like it's like a little hat. Got his little hat going on. Got his little hat on the top of his pumpkin. Yes, very good. Little hat on the top of your pumpkin. Then we're going to do some shapes called contour shapes. Now, if I drew this pumpkin here, going back to my example pumpkin to show you, if I drew lines like this, that makes the pumpkin look really flat and not really realistic. What you want to do is draw shapes that follow the way that the pumpkin would sit and curve with the pumpkin so that it looks like it's kind of got that shape. See how this makes it look like a real pumpkin? It follows the edge and then it curves back in to show that this is the wide section and this curves, it's got that weight. Then it follows the edge and curves. As we get to the center, the line gets a bit more straight and then it starts going the other way because it's round like this. This is like a big round section, like a big round belly. You don't want the big round belly to be flat. We want it to be down, follow the curve and under. So I would like you to do that on your pumpkin. Following the shape, you're going to follow the side of your pumpkin, draw it down, come around and come under so that it looks like it's quite, whoa, it's got that shape. You did not do a very good pumpkin shape just then, but that's all right. And you're going to go again, down, around and curve so that it looks like your pumpkin has that nice shape to it. Now, if you make a mistake, that's what the trusty eraser is for. I have made a mistake. You just rub it out. I find it easier, rather than starting from one side and going completely to the other side, you start from one side, come into the center, and start on the other side and come into the center. That way, it keeps the fact that my pumpkin is round. So you've got your pumpkin looking like it's actually got that shape to it. So you can see here, the way that I've curved in here, the lines are closer where it has that fold or that bend, and the lines are bigger where it's nice and wide. Awesome, good job. If your drawing has some lines that you don't like, just rub them out, go again. There are no wrong things. It's all about making patterns. So don't worry too much about it looking too perfect. Got our shape going on. Awesome. So I hope that paper should be dry. Our next step, what we're going to do, we're going to cut it out. Snip, 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 snip. If you don't have glue, I would say don't cut it out. But if you do, we're going to cut it out. So we're going to start off by, oh, I know what I forgot to do, the little ones. That's all right, we'll have spare paper. We're going to cut out our watermelon and our pumpkin. Don't forget we're painting on this, so it's all good. Cutting it out, snip, snippity, snip. Oh no, make sure you cut all the areas, not just a little bit. So you have your little, you've got your watermelon. Put that off to the side while we cut the other one. And then we're going to cut our pumpkin. Now, when it, you know how I drew the bottom line of our pumpkin? We're not going to follow that. We're going to cut that line. So I'll show you. We're going to cut the edge of our pumpkin Pretend like that bottom line on the outside was never there. We're just going to cut it off like so. We're just going to cut that bottom line off. So then it actually looks like it's sitting on a table, but we technically never drew the table because we've cut it away. Snip, snip, snip. Finding it out. Ooh. I had to draw a very squiggly pumpkin, didn't I? This is hard to cut. Snip, snip, snip. You cut out your pumpkin, and it looks like so. Then you should have these little spare pieces of paper. We're going to use these to make some smaller little fruits. Or you could do anything. You don't have to do fruit. Maybe we could do like a kapow or a bam. Turn it into an advertisement. Those are some very popular things that were around in pop art because they use lots of colors, lines, pattern, advertising. They had things called popular culture in their work, hence why the name pop art. Because popular culture is celebrities, songs, food, things that are popular at the time. So at the moment in my household, Oreos are popular. Maybe you have some different kind of food you'd like to put in there. We're all snipping away. The dedication is good. Snip, snip, snip. If there's any little bits you want to come back, you can, once you've cut it, you can make sure that those lines are nice and straight. I've done some snipping and I've missed some corners here. Marissa, did you have a question still, lovely? Or your hand just clapping? Because you're saying I'm so perfect. Thank you, Marissa. I thought so. How are we going with our snipping? If you've snipped out those fruits, what I want you to do, maybe draw some more. Oh, that's cool. I like that. That's very good. Zara, that looks awesome. It's got that weight to it. Maybe you want to add some, oh yes, your watermelon looks very much more watermelon-y than mine. I needed a banana too. What a good idea. Oh, very good, Abigail. Yours are attached together. I like that. That's very interesting. It's going to look good on the work. Let's add some other little fruits. So you should have little leftover bits of paper. We're not going to do them very big. These are just for little decorations. Maybe you want to do a little lemon. So we do a circle for our lemon and we do a little kind of lump at the end and a little lump at the end. So your lemon could look like this, and then you just outline this outline, not these little circle bits. We can add these lemons. Whoa. Make sure you follow your outline. Don't go crazy and accidentally miss the outline. You've got a little lemon. Maybe you could draw a little strawberry. That'd look nice. So we've got a strawberry is kind of like a triangle, but it's rounded. So we start off with a triangle sort of shape like this. And then to make it more of a strawberry, you round it out. So you soften those edges. So you make those lines a little bit rounder. We round out the bottom. We turn a triangle into a strawberry by softening the edges. How about the little triangle in the center? Oh, try not to rip your paper. Soften those edges of your strawberry, and you're going to add little tufts at the top of your strawberry. I don't have a lot of room to add my tufts. That's okay, it's just a little strawberry. Got your little strawberry. I know it doesn't have any of the dots yet, but we're going to put those on with paint. Now, these little ones that you've drawn, don't cut those out yet because they're quite little. We're not going to have enough room to paint while we're holding them. So pick a color any color, it's up to you. And you're going to paint those a solid color. I might use a smaller paintbrush because they're quite small. So make sure you don't have too big of a paintbrush. You're going to pick one of your colors, any colors. They don't have to, it doesn't have to make sense. So if you're doing a lemon, it doesn't have to be yellow. I'm going to do a blue lemon. Not blue, sorry, I looked at blue. I'm doing a green lemon. So make sure you add water to your paint so it's a little bit watered down. And you're going to paint your fruit, your smaller fruits. Because they're smaller, we might accidentally go at the edges, but that's okay because it's on the small paper, on the big paper. We're not going to cut it out until it's a little bit drier. So just painting that. It's all good if you go over the line. I'll show you I've gone over my line. See how I've gone over the edges? That's all right. So we're going to cut it out in a little bit. So if you're using nice, thin, watered down paint, it shouldn't take too long to dry. It should be nice and quick. So you're adding water and you're only using a little bit of pigment, so a little bit of paint. Same for my green strawberry. I don't know about a green strawberry. That tastes a bit funny, wouldn't it? Oh, you know what I just realized? A green lemon is a lime. How silly am I? That's all right. I've just got a lime that I'm going to call a lemon anyway. And we're just going to really lightly paint those in. Make sure, see how I've painted the strawberry and the leaves all the same color? Because I'm going to add detail with pattern instead of actually painting what it looks like. So the idea is we're just going to have the shape of it, but it's going to have different colors. My paintbrush is breaking. No. Once you have colored those little smaller ones, I know I'm moving a little quick, sorry, I'll slow down. I want you to put them to the side. Oh, I like that. That's very good. I like the colors you've used there, Marissa. Oh, Addie, you've got gold. That's cool. Abigail, that's looking very pretty. I love your strawberry. It's very strawberry-like. Very strawberry-esque. What was your question, Marissa? No, I still can't unmute you. Can I? No, I can't. No, I can't. Did you need to unmute Marissa and ask a question?
I put a face on my lemon.
Oh, it's a happy lemon. Look what I just did. I just broke mine. Oh no. I'll fix it. I'll do another one quickly. My bad. Be careful. Don't rip them and accidentally move them. Make sure you're careful with them. So you've got a happy lemon. Do you have a sad lemon? What if you had a sad one? That'd be a bit upsetting. I'm going to quickly make a new strawberry because I broke it because I'm silly. All right. So we should have those painted nice and done. Waiting for them to dry. Marissa, lovely, could you go on mute for me if that's all good? Thank you so much. Make sure every time you use your paintbrush, you wash it and you give it a little wipe. So I have a little, very yucky, but my little paint towel that I wipe on. Definitely do not wipe on your clothes. If you have spare paper, wipe on spare paper. Or if you have a piece of paper towel, that works as well. So I'm going to leave my little ones off to the side to dry. Oh, look at that. That's nice and dry now. So what we're going to do, maybe it needs a bit of, to make sure it's dry. We're going to glue our fruit onto our original wallpaper, our background, our dotty background. So you're going to have your fruit in front of you, the big ones, not the little ones, because they should be drying at the moment. We're going to flip them over so the pencil's away from you. Going to get your glue, and we're going to cover every single area. So we make sure that we cover it nice and evenly. Going to all the edges. Try not to glue the table if you're gluing on the table. Nice and even. If you need to, you can flip it upside down and do this really carefully and make sure you get all those edges. Your fingers may get a little bit sticky, but it means that you don't glue the table. This is a good technique to get the edges. But to do the big section in the middle, we lie it down and we glue all the center. And make sure you use a nice even layer of glue. Ooh, unlike me, I broke my glue. Oh, Miss Lauren is stuffing up today, isn't she? She's being a bit silly. She's doing things that she should have thought through a bit better. Oh, well, it's all right. We all make mistakes. So make sure I've glued the whole thing. Then you want to, once you've glued your whole thing, place it on your work. Now you can place it wherever you like. You could put it down the bottom, you could put it in the middle, you could put it to the side. I'm going to put mine down the bottom and in the middle. Oh, not really, it's kind of off to the side. It will cover some of your dots in your background, but that's okay, because you're just trying to make it look like it's in a scene, in a pop art scene. Once you put it and glue it down, make sure you're pressing all the edges. Make sure you're double checking that it's glued in place. Really push it down. Rub those edges, make sure it's glued on. Sometimes I use my fist and I put it down, I rub it back and forward just to make sure it's really stuck on there. I am avoiding the paint dots though, because I don't want to put my hand down and have covered in paint. So when I come to the paint dots, I'm just using my finger to really push in those areas. Oh, Marisa, that looks so good. All right, so we've got one on. Oh, that looks so cool, Addie. The black paper makes it look really dark, like it's sucking everything in. I like that effect. Abigail, that looks awesome. That's so good. I love all these patterns we've come up with. Everyone's got a different take on the same pattern. Oh no, I glued the table. This is why I have a spare piece of paper down just in case. Sometimes it's not always works. So make sure you glue your watermelon as well. Get all those edges. Cover the whole thing nice and evenly. Now this is where you get to choose. Do you want your watermelon to be touching your pumpkin? Do you want it to be leaning on it, sitting in front of it? Do you want to pretend that your watermelon is a part of the sky and it's up here? Do you want it to be floating behind? There are all sorts of things we can do. I'm going to put mine in the sky, like a backwards sun sort of, or a moon. My watermelon will pretend to be the moon. So I'm going to place it on there, push it down. I dropped something on my paper. That's all right. So you should have your two stuck on here, however you like. It doesn't matter where they are. At the moment, I've got them like this. I'm going to put my lemon maybe somewhere here. I've got paper all over. And I might put my strawberry in front of this at the end. So the next step I want you to do, once you've glued those all on together, remember those two colors we have? So we need one light color and one dark color. For your pumpkin, I want you to pick the light color. We're going to paint all of this bottom bit, the light color, but not the hat. The hat will be a dark color. If you're doing the banana, I would suggest you pick a light color for your banana. So you pick a light color, make sure you water it down. Now, because it's on the paper, we need to be careful about the edges. So we want to try not to go outside the edges. So we're going to paint nice and lightly, trying not to go outside the edges. When you're painting, follow the same lines that you've drawn on. So if you're painting left to right and going across the pumpkin and not following these lines, it's going to look very flat, very similar. So you want to come down from the top, follow the shape of your pumpkin nice and slowly, and come down the side, curve it a little bit, go out the edge of your pumpkin, along the side, and back down again. Trying to cover the whole pumpkin. Now, because I tried to do yellow over blue, color theory has meant that my yellow is now green, but that's okay. So we're following the shape of the pumpkin, painting it down. Following that shape. Should have put spare paper underneath, but that's all right. Following the pumpkin shape, coming down. Once you've painted your pumpkin, we're going to do a little fun thing. We're going to paint the hat. Now the hat, I want you to paint the other color, so paint the darker color. We've painted our pumpkin, all nice, fully covered. With a smaller paintbrush, use your darker color, and you're going to paint the hat of your pumpkin. Now, I find it difficult to go over the already painted section. So I'm going to turn it to face me, so then I don't have to go over the already painted section. Marissa, that looks so good. So I'm going to paint just the top of my pumpkin. With my other smaller paintbrush. Oh no, I went off the edge. That's okay. I'll just pretend like I did it on purpose. So once you paint your hat, still with that same color, we're going to add dots down those lines in the middle. So not on the line. So if you have a look, not on the lines, but in the center. Now with the dots, because we need them to be a little bit thicker, you're not going to water down your paint. So you're going to find where you haven't watered down your paint. It's going to be a little bit more globby. Mine is extra globby. It should look a little bit like this. So it should sit on your paintbrush and not fall off. A little bit more globby. We're going to do, oh, mine dripped everywhere. And we're going to do dots all down your pumpkin. All down the side, so following the patterns. So you've got your gloopy dots. If yours has blended a little bit, just dab it away. Little dot here. Much like the background, we're doing dots. They don't have to be the same size. We're going to have them follow down the sides of our pumpkin, down those lines, in between them. So this is the point when if you had a round brush, it's a little bit easier. If you don't have a round brush, on the end of every paintbrush is the back. The back is quite rounded. You could use the back instead. And you can dot, dot. They end up a bit more uniform when you use the back of your paintbrush. And it makes it a little bit quicker. We're dotting all down those pumpkins. So now it doesn't matter if the dots match up. It doesn't matter if they're not matching up. As long as you draw, add a bunch of dots. So all the way, I'm going to make some bigger ones and some bigger sections. Some smaller ones as it gets to the bottom. Dot, dot. Not only is this very lethargic, so it's nice and calming, it's quite good and easy to make pattern just by using the back of your paintbrush to dot. Anyone else seeing the cool sort of spike that's coming off when they do their dot? Spike. Oh, Marissa, good job. They're looking good. If you're ahead of me, you can paint the watermelon. So much like this one, but I want you to do it the opposite. So with your watermelon, I'd like you to paint the dots that are on this one as your watermelon color, and the background that is this one as your dot color. Ooh, too much. So adding our dots, dot, Oh, no, I didn't make that one at all. This section, because we're doing thick acrylic dots, this will take a while to dry. So when we're done, we're going to have to put this not outside because it's obviously a little bit too windy, isn't it? It'll get blown away. Put it somewhere safe where it's not going to get touched and it can have time to dry. More little dots. Oh, that's not a very dotty dot. If your paintbrush is getting a bit dirty, just give it a little clean, wipe it off, and come back to doing some more. As you get to the larger section of your pumpkin, you might need to make some bigger dots. Another one. Ooh. I'm on the final row of dots. And keep going. The last dot. Ta-da. All right, so I've got my pumpkin. My dots are all covered. Makes it look very kind of psychedelic and patterny. I wash my brush. Oh, that's a very smart idea, Zara. You're using a pen or a texter. Very smart. Oh, it's a paintbrush. Oh, it's just a really thick paintbrush. Oh, that's a good idea. Used a thin one. Mine was not the best. Oh, are we adding dots on there, Haku? That looks very cool. I'm liking the patterns there. They're looking very good. If you've finished your pumpkin, it is time to turn it upside down and you're going to work on your watermelon. Don't forget the watermelon, we're going to do it backwards. So we're going to paint it that color that we used for our dots. Remember, nice and thin. Then we're going to dot on top of it with the darker color, or the lighter color, sorry. Now, because we're doing a light over dark, that means that we need to make sure that our our dark color is quite watery and our light color is quite thick. With the watermelon, I want you to not paint this outside rind. We're going to leave that, and we're not going to paint the little pumpkin seed, watermelon seeds. We're going to leave those as well. So we've got to go on the outside of the watermelon seeds and on the inside of the outside. Gosh, Miss Lauren, be more confusing. On the inside of the rind, on the outside of the watermelon seeds. So the watermelon seeds we're going to paint yellow, and the rind we're going to paint yellow as well. Nice and carefully painting around those shapes. I like to, with my painting around the watermelon seeds, is start at the point and paint around the edge, going on the underneath, and again start at the point, paint around the underneath, at the point, paint around the underneath. So then I can keep it quite pointy. And then I come back and fill in all those little gaps. Starting at the point, paint around the underneath, and again. Pointy, underneath, pointy, underneath. Make sure we're not painting the pumpkin seed or the watermelon seeds, and we are not painting the rind. So we're leaving those blank for now until we paint them the other color. So your darker color we're using on the whole. Well, mine's red and it's actually, watermelon's actually red. So mine is the watermelon color. Take it nice and carefully along the outside, following that rind. Following that rind. If we accidentally go in a little too far, that's okay. Just pretend like we did it on purpose and make it look like that. Oh no, we've only got 10 minutes. So the next step, you want to paint your outside rind and your watermelon pumpkin. Watermelon pumpkin. Guys, Miss Lauren's going crazy today. Watermelon seeds. I feel like I've said pumpkin seeds for watermelon that many times today. So make sure when you're painting the rind, we want it to be a little bit thicker because we don't want it to blend into that red or that lighter color that you have. Because this is the lighter color, we need it to stand out a little bit more. Make it a little bit thicker. Making sure we paint the whole area. Getting that whole area. Make it stand out. Very poppy, like pop art. I go follow along the edge to make sure that it's nice and crisp. And then back the other way to keep it nice and crisp. And again, follow along the edge and back the other way. And then painting your little seeds. Starting in the center, following the shape out again. Same way we did it when we were painting around the edges. Painting the center out, so that you can make it look nice and pointy. Center, center. Last one, center, out. And finally, so you should have a scenery. And I've managed to get glue everywhere. This is where you say, gosh, Miss Lauren, you are so messy. At my school that I teach at as well, my high school, lots of my students think I'm very messy too. Final step that we are moving to, you need to cut out these little guys. We're going to cut them out, glue them on, and then add dots. So you got extra little fruits, strawberry, lemon, lime, potato, tomato, grapefruit, whatever you have. I'm going to cut those out. They should be dry. We shouldn't have had too much paint on them. Little dry. Woo, don't flip it upside down. And the strawberry, little strawberry dude. Cutting that out nice and careful. Now the best way when you're cutting to cut something out is you start by cutting one side, then we have to do these little details, turn it around, cut into the point again, much like we did with the drawing of the points, and then cut into the point again. So you're cutting into the point rather than trying to make it so that you're following that point and then turning it inside and then going. You're cutting into the point, then we come back and we cut into the point the other way. So then it's a little bit easier that we can track what we're cutting. Rather than trying to follow that shape and maybe making that corner a bit rough, we just tidy up the top of it. Got our other little fruitsies. I'm going to stick mine together and put them underneath my watermelon like it looks like it's raining fruit. It's the fun thing about pop art and about doing activities. We can do anything. You can make it look like your fruit is raining. You can make it look like your fruit's having a fruit fight. Just throwing fruit at each other. So you're going to glue it on, and this one's going to rain fruit. It's raining fruit. Oh, what's that? Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. That's the movie that it reminds me of. Raining fruit. Raining fruit. Make sure you glue the whole area and you can have it. Oh, even I could do my strawberry upside down. These are all sorts of things you need to think about. Which way are we going to have the strawberry? Which way are we going to have the lime or the lemon? How do I keep dropping water on my artwork? That's another good question. With your fruit, you guessed it, we're going to add patterns, little stripes or dots. I think because the theme is dots at the moment, maybe we'll stick to dots. So I'm going to add some. Now, because I have red in the background, I'm going to add yellow dots. I don't have any yellow dots yet. So I'm going to use a big paintbrush because I've decided I want big dots. And I'm going to do dots following the outside shape of the lemon. Similar to when we did it on the pumpkin. So you're following the outside shape and then following it in. We're not going to do them as randomly, but more with, more trying to target the shape that our lemon is. Targeting that shape, following the outside. My poor lemon did not, I shouldn't have used such a big brush, but that's all right. I'll go back and tidy those up. Oh, you're melting. That was last week, wasn't it? Didn't you melt last week? How could you be melting? It's freezing cold. You should be frozen. You should be like, ooh, brrr, I am cold. We're going to add it on my little strawberry. Add some dots on the strawberry. I'm going to add some random dots on my strawberry to make it look like little strawberry bits. I'm extremely unimpressed with my lemon. That's all right, I'll fix it. So you can always just come back with a paintbrush and really tidy up those dots that you have. All right, lovelies, I can see the time. I'm sorry that it's taken us a little bit longer to get this activity done. What I'm going to say is, what are you up to with your work? And can you hold it up and we all have a look at it together? All right. Everyone, if you'd like to unmute, you're more than welcome to as well. Hold up your work so we can have a look at it and see what kind of creation we've come up with. Oh, Abigail, that's cool. Hold it forward a little bit more for me. Oh, Addie, that's awesome. Those colors that you've managed to put on that black really changed it. Haku, I love the watermelon. It's so good. Oh, Zara, that looks amazing. Yes, Marissa, and your happy lemon. So good. Zara, your composition is really good. That's a good way to put them together. Abigail, hold yours up again. Hold it closer. Oh, that looks awesome. I love how soft those colors are. Oh, Addie, that looks awesome. William, yes, that looks so good. Very nice watermelon. I'm loving the colors of your watermelon. It's very fun. All right, lovelies. Well, thank you for joining me today. Afternoon. I hope we had fun. Oh, just before you go, I'll do a reminder of what next week is, just in case we need to know. So next week's lesson we are doing a art activity with scissors. So it is a Matisse inspired activity, and we'll be cutting up colored paper and making a face. So that's our activity next week. Colored papers and faces. I can show you an example if you'd like to see really quickly. Maybe I can show you an example. No, I lied. I've lost the example. I'm sorry. I can't show you. I can show you next week. We'll be doing cool wacky faces with paper and scissors and glue next week. You're making shapes to make. I hope everyone had a very good lesson. I hope you all stay nice and warm. Goodbye, lovelies. Enjoy your afternoon. Make sure you take a photo of your work, send it to all your kids. See ya. Bye. Enjoy. Bye. Happy lemons next week. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, lovelies. Yes, it looks so good.
Bye. See you next week.
See you next week. I hope everyone comes with nice warm blankets because it's cold.
Bye.